And we're live. Sorry, it was Rich's fault.
It was.
Matt joined us as well.
And
Matt
I go
just
on
finished.
there early. I'm all, it's not me. I'm here.
Oh, do we have
I
an
was
echo?
here. I was prompt. Everything was, I ended my stream on time just so I could be on this thing.
Well, it was quite nice of you. Today, though, we're here, not just another Thursday, because we didn't do this on Thursday, but the new SCX Pro. I can't imagine that people saw this coming. And we should say that Rich is here. Rich, if you don't know, Rich is from Horizon Axial, and he was the product management. What do you call it?
I'm a developer.
Product developer.
Yeah.
So, and this was one of his projects, long in the making, and finally here.
Yeah.
Are you proud?
Congratulations, Rich.
Yeah, finally.
For those that aren't aware, I can't imagine you're here already if you weren't. But what the new SCX Pro is an entry that would be fitting in the comp world of the scale trucks. Flat rail chassis, forward mounted motor, mid mounted transmission. It's got selectable overdrive, and it's got modular, pretty slick little axles in there. AR44 based straight axles. So we got some upgrade stuff available already, and you guys are going to come out with upgrades.
Yep.
So
I have some of them here. Yeah,
sweet.
The bottom line, this thing was, I was too lazy to try to figure out what everybody else was running, and Wyatt already had a truck built, so I said, hey, let's make a truck so I don't have to do it myself. That's it. I don't want to, you got to find these links and you got to get these axles and get this and that. No. I want it in a box with an instruction sheet and let me put it together.
That is the most difficult part about comp.
Sourcing all the things you need.
Yeah, and knowing what's going to work with
part.
this and what's going to work with that. Right. Finding body mounts that are going to bolt up and every little thing about it. So having the one-click buy option is what really will make this a great setup, and it should fit right in with just about any
Rich,
of the comp.
can I ask the first question?
Sure.
And I think this one's pretty key to, I think, a lot of people out there. Can you beat little girls with this? Can I go to a comp and beat
an
10-year-old girl?
A 10-year-old, that's right.
Well,
with this truck,
I would say most people can, but I'm not sure about you.
I know it's not on the box, Matt. It's not a feature yet.
Yeah.
Shoot. Okay. All right.
Not much I can do about that.
So there was a couple questions that came in first. First of all, Scott O'Blame thinks, is this the Ascender Pro or is that one coming later?
Hey, you want to know something funny?
What?
The first sample rails I got were in Ascender green, the Terra green.
Oh, perfect.
And Randall saw it and was like, what is that?
No.
I was like, no, that's the wrong green, because we were going to do that bright green color.
The original Axial color?
Yeah, the original Axial green. And you'll see like Brock LaRouche and Wyatt and myself, we have them still. But as we started progressing through, I was like, dude, as cool as it would be for me to have the green as a staple and you could see that it's our rig, it just doesn't work with what scaling is, and it needs to be a black chassis.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I felt. So
now, I mean, with a stamped aluminum, I can't imagine that it would be a huge problem to have some option upgrade parts done in anodized colors down the road if it blows up. But you are going to have carbon fiber ones already, I saw.
Yeah, we do have. That's the only one part I didn't bring with me. I did bring. I got. Let's see, this stupid thing's gonna be weird because we have my phone.
Carbon fiber servo mount.
Yeah, the carbon fiber servo mount. We've got these. Sorry for jumping ahead here, Josh, but I just want to show them.
No, that's great. I like that your camera's automatically blurring it for us.
I know, sorry.
It's a spoiler-free edition.
Yeah, I know.
So the funny part is, and then we got these the brass axle tubes. So
which I want to.
Those are the parts I brought.
Wait a second.
I will.
Brass axle tubes.
I'll be interested to find out because the steel is already very heavy.
Right.
So I'm curious to find out how much heavier the brass is.
Yeah, I weigh them. I don't know the difference in them, but I have the weights. I got 60 grams for the axle tubes for the front and 82 grams for the rear combined.
So a single rear tube on this already is 38 grams.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So it's like 4 grams heavier per, but they're brass, so they'll sell like crazy.
Hey, everybody wants them.
I know what you mean. They're gonna sell, but they're about this.
Everybody wants them. Nobody needs them.
Yeah,
right.
It's now there was a couple. I saw one that popped up earlier. Yes, I was originally told not to drive this. I totally understand why. It's pre-production. You never. And this one, I have to send this one back. I was super grateful to get it ahead of time and get to see it. And I understood why, and I know how pre-production stuff goes. That wasn't like a, don't show this so you make the video because I don't think it's going to, I understood, you never know.
The truth is, I didn't want Josh to drive one. I mean, that was it.
That's
fine.
I was gonna say it's more accurate. You just didn't want Josh to break
I didn't
it.
want Josh to drive it. That's it.
I'm gonna disassemble this whole thing on this film and just send it back to you in the box that way.
Rich, he's already reverse engineered the whole thing.
3D scanned. Just Indy Bama, thank you. Is the body going to be available soon? Yeah,
Yes. So I've kind of led to some of the story about the body. Basically, the body originally was going to come in the kit, but then Sorka decided to change the rules at the last second, and it wouldn't have made it legal. So I didn't want to have a body come with the vehicle that would have raised the storm of, it's not legal. Why did they even put it in there? This is breaking the axle. Blah blah blah. So I was like, you know what? We'll take the body.
So
out.
You've been on Facebook before. Okay.
Oh yeah, Facebook and Instagram. Yeah. So it's like, you know what? Let's take the body out. We'll sell it. Let people choose what body they want to run, and we will have these bodies available. The bodies and all the option parts will be up tomorrow. We have what's called a flipping the flag thing in our system. Someone didn't flip the flags on the option parts, so that's why they weren't live today. But they will be live by tomorrow, so people can make, they can take their orders if they want to buy the chassis parts, and they're all pretty reasonably priced too. I think that if I remember right, the chassis rail was like $70 or $79. A lot of the brass stuff was fairly reasonable. I try to be pretty aggressive on the pricing for the option parts, so
good deal.
Get into what they want.
Yeah,
get up early.
Yeah, get in, buy early, buy often. Are you looking at selling axle kits separately?
Eventually, yeah. Right now, we're just trying to keep up with the orders for the vehicles themselves. Yeah. So I know everybody's gonna get pissed off and say that I did it on purpose. It wasn't. It's just a matter of trying to keep up with it. But we will have axles available.
Right.
For sure.
The question on why the body isn't legal for Sorka. Currently, Sorka rules measure the body from the bottom of the sliders to the top of the roof, and I think current Sorka rules are 5 1/4 inches, and this is 5 inches.
Yeah.
So, what's the name of the body?
It's just called the Pro, and you were right. It is based off the Grappler.
Is it? Yeah. Was it the same guy who designed it?
Actually, we took the files, and I had Wyatt adjust it. I said, I'm gonna make it. I want the Grappler body. That was it.
I was just like, this looks very low-C grappler. I was just,
hey, I gotta get him in where I can.
Yep. Hey, no, I didn't.
Amazing.
I liked the grappler. I was just like this. I feel a lot of this is very reminiscent in just a lot of ways, and didn't bother me in the slightest. It was just.
Is it a 12.3 wheelbase?
12.5.
12.5.
12.5. Yeah, I was gonna say it looks a little long.
Common.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can't tell.
I meant to say.
You can't tell 5.5 millimeters.
No, I can. Yes, I can.
Well,
I've measured a lot of things in the woods, Josh.
Yeah. Let me tell
exactly
you. I'm sure that it is 12.5 when built. I've disassembled and reassembled, and this thing is closer to 12.3 currently, Matt. So.
You probably broke it.
Yeah, exactly. When I did disassemble and reassemble it, just to go through, so I was familiar with before I shot the video, and I'd put the front lowers and the rear uppers flipped when I reassembled because they're like very close to the same length.
Right.
So my pinion angles were all wonky. Take that all back apart and redo it. Gigawatt RC, thank you, sir. I'm ready to find a way to hide this one from the wife.
So,
You know,
so one thing,
just find a body.
one thing I know that you're going to complain about, Josh, you're going to be the first one to say it, is why are the axle tubes, the long ones, so close together and not the same size? And you are right. There are the two rears are the same size. The fronts are like off by like, I think, a millimeter, half a millimeter, somewhere around there.
Oh, so you're saying the front axle tube is almost the same length as a rear?
Almost exactly the same, but because of the axle widths and using all the existing parts that we wanted to use from the F45, we couldn't match them 100%.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, I guess. And I don't even know if I would have like mixed and matched those two sets of parts to find that out.
You would.
You would. You can do it. I can promise you.
I guarantee you'd be like, oh, Rich must have worked on this.
Yeah. Oh, so that's the one you're going to get where my universal axle won't fit into the housing. Yep.
Yeah.
Get ready for that customer service
call.
call.
In the instruction manual that I failed to send you, I did. We did put a note in there to make sure you take a look at the right size and make sure you're using the correct one. So, tech tip for everybody: pay attention to that.
Yep, that makes total sense. It's very, very smooth on the bottom. You know, not a lot of features as far as like, you know, details to get hung up on, things like that. Just pretty smooth down there. Doesn't look too bad. You know, that my real only like actual complaint with it is that it is kind of as for as little that there is, you know, like comp trucks are pretty stripped down. It's kind of a bear to work on, like if you want to do stuff to the transmission.
Yeah, you know, this so Wyatt did the design on there, and I know what you're talking about, those two small screws up in the front and the back side, and that you know, I really can't answer for why he did it that way or why he chose. It is kind of based off of his rig. It's been pretty funny reading some of the comments where, oh, they copied this guy and that guy and this guy. And if you got a chance to, you know, when we first started this project, we were out there running the SCX6 prototypes, and Wyatt was a new employee, and he came out and brought his comp rig, and I saw it and was like, dude, we got to do this. You know, we've got to run this thing. So we had that, and then we went out to the nationals, and I am the reason why Josh was not allowed to take pictures of Wyatt's car, because I didn't want you to catch on to the system transmission he had in there. So I told Wyatt, I said, you're gonna look like not a nice guy to Josh. Don't let him see your car.
Wyatt had it covered in a sweatshirt the entire weekend.
Yeah. Well, I'm even talking about the Nats in where was it? Where were we at?
Oh, when we were in Vegas.
Yeah.
When were we in Vegas? 2021, I guess, right?
Yeah.
2021.
He was running his prototype that he hand built and made, was 3D parts, 3D transmission, all that type of stuff. That's when you drove the SCX6 for the first time. And after the finals, he wouldn't let you take a picture or look at his truck.
Right, because I was videoing everyone's car after the finals runs. I had done that. Me. Yeah, I didn't do that I didn't do that at nationals this year, because as soon as the runs were over, Matt and I were just like, okay, let's go back down.
Let's get out of here.
Let's
skedaddle.
Yeah. So,
we're done.
So in case you ever thought, man, Matt, or you know, why is kind of a, you know, well, it was me. It was Rich being Rich.
We got a few other. Let's see. It seems the prototype of the Pro secretly took Class 2 at Super Shafty last year. Chris Barr, thank you. Urban Legend Scalers with a Pro Line Sumo L body fit it.
Oh, I don't know.
I have one here somewhere new. I just don't know where at the moment. But I saw that a cliffhanger drops pretty much right on it. Sumo L, I would imagine you're just going to
you'll have to do some trimming.
Yeah. As well.
So one thing and I sent it in the box with all the parts with yours, I thought I did, Josh, was that it had the body post set.
Yes.
We took the standard SCX10 body post set and included it so people can put whatever body post they want on it. It comes set up for the Pro body. So there are little tiny nubs on there with some set screws in place, but it does come with the other body set.
Yeah, I did see the other body post parts that were in there. I didn't get to those obviously, but yeah, it does look like you're going to be able to, and it's like anything, it's body posts, so just you're going to throw anything on there because it's body posts. They're pretty simple in that way. They're pretty universal.
Yeah.
12.3 to 12.5 is the difference of a less than 1/8 of an inch on the front and back of each, towards the outside of the fenders. It's going to be super easy to do that. I can't imagine that any popular scale body, whatnot, is going to be a pretty easy drop-in type situation.
What hard bodies do you think are going to work on there real good?
I think you're on. You know what? We're going to jump to Matt's channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. We can tear into this thing as people get to it. For example, like that, getting the transmission out is not something you need to do super often in a comp truck. I mean, I have rarely had to do that with mine. Oh, I guess the other one little thing before we get too far in is I did show the sliders, being able to, I can turn on, if I turn on that, I know it's not the best camera, you guys can't see it, but they can. The slider is fairly long, kind of shows it fits that Pro body well, but other bodies it may seem to be a little bit on you take off those 2 screws and you end up with a much shorter, much more reasonable length slider for a lot of bodies.
Yeah. There was what was the one thing I wanted to address? Someone was asking me, like, someone had put up a comment, and it was even before I've seen it somewhere else.
Are we just gonna go read internet comments because there's some good ones?
No, yeah.
Now, as far as motor clearance and things like that, while you're thinking about it, all of the Firma 2-in-1s drop right in, no problem, I assume.
Yep.
That's good.
And, and you had, like
That's
I
good.
said, Wyatt was the key to this thing because, dude, you guys know I love playing with these things. I like making them look cool, whatever it is, that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the comp side of it, I'm not really involved in it. So I really counted on Wyatt to really provide his feedback. And the same thing goes with Brock LaRouche. Brock is local to us, and I think that helped us out quite a bit. So what I was going to bring up is Brock actually did a video, and I had him mention that we did break one transmission gear very, very early on. And I've already seen people like, oh, I heard it breaks and the gears break. No, it broke in testing, and we eliminated that. It was a heat treat issue. We fixed it, and we haven't had an issue since. So the cool part is Wyatt's been running it fairly stock since day one. It's mostly been tire tuning, and that's about it. Obviously, he's got his winches and stuff like that, but for the most part, really, this is Wyatt. I mean, if you ever saw his prototype, you'll see that this is really based on what his prototype looked like, and he was able to bring that to life. So it's been fun working with the new younger guys that are really into it. I'm being realistic. I don't follow it that hardcore with what is going on like you guys do in competing and finding the latest this and that. I count on my guys to be able to tell me what's going on and then kind of learn from there and work from there. So really counted on Wyatt to develop this chassis because he's into it,
Right.
That's great.
A couple of the things that I found that there's a lot of things that are very similar to just what's commonly done on the market or in the market by other manufacturers, but the flat rail chassis, it's kind of different that it's actually just straight. There is no taper front to back. Did you guys worry about like customers getting them and not understanding that you can taper them or something along those lines, or was that just a personal preference thing or ease of assembly for?
I think it was more ease of assembly, and it was just kind of, like I said, based off of Wyatt's design. I let him really roll with whatever he wanted to do. That's really what it came down to. There was some little knick-knack things where there's some things where, like, as an example, sometimes bumpers or other types of things that maybe Wyatt's more thinking about the hardcore side of it, where I'm thinking about, hey, there's going to still be some people who are going to want to trail this thing and that type of stuff. And Wyatt's really good about that stuff, but he's into comping. and he wants to make that thing go. So when it came to those rails, it really comes down to, dude, seriously, I let him run with this thing for the most part. Tell me
Yeah.
what we're making.
I can totally get that. Yeah, the straight frame rail thing I thought was a little odd. It makes it a little bit wider in there. You can get a little bit of shock interference, which, you know, depending on your offsets, as far as keeping it narrow or whatnot. I thought that was, you know, one of the only things I was like, that's kind of odd. I wish they would have followed more along the lines of what was more common in the aftermarket. But, you know, beyond that, it does, at least everything's in one kit, which does make things super easy. I feel like,
Yeah, that's the one. I think that's the barrier for a lot of people who want to get into comps and at a Sorca kind of level, is that there are very few turnkey solutions.
Right.
And
yeah,
this sort of takes all of the things that you need to get started and puts it into one package. I mean, you don't get electronics or any of that stuff, but that's usually personal preference stuff anyway. But yeah, this is like all the parts you need in one spot. And I think it's going to force some of these smaller outfits that do these sort of bespoke chassis kits to really kind of step it up and start to
well,
pull it all together to make something.
at the same
come out
time, I
that's
see
fun.
I see a flood of aftermarket chassis coming that are basically just going to be able to bolt this whole thing into.
Bolt all this stuff.
Right. And I
you
think that was some of the stuff too that Wyatt did. And I know some of the guys give me a hard time, like, I'm not Mr. Engineer, but you guys know I'm not an engineer. I'm a product developer. I follow the projects and stuff. But that was one of the things, is that we do know people like to customize them. No matter how much you do to something, no matter how good you think you've got it, these guys are going to want to make aftermarket chassis and things like that type of stuff. So one of the things, like with the slider design, that was also done because Wyatt knew people like to do these types of sliders, similar to what's there. Chassis rails, he knows people are going to make frame rails with all their holes, and they're going to change all the geometry and stuff. So we were trying to make it friendly like that too for the comp guys, because we wanted to have a good comp chassis, like we've talked about, for everybody to start with. Also customizable for everybody else. So
yeah, I mean,
that was the thing.
as far as that goes, it really will be an easy one for a lot of people to jump on like that.
Yeah.
The why high clearance links in the back only, that's pretty common. That, you know, you have a low mounted motor, so you do high clearance links there, your link comes up into the motor area. High clearance links are really, that's a rear thing only most commonly. So that's no surprise.
Hey, if you're on here, go ahead and you can respond to some of this stuff so we can make me sound good, or make me.
So just pulling out that one of the axles, the front axle, at least you get the most going on there. Again, the tube style. I mean, we've obviously seen tube style axles available. It's kind of cool that Axial's got that nailed down now. Sorry, I'm missing some super chats here, guys. I will get back to you on that, but trying to dive into this. Wildboard drive shafts are the same. Wildboard drive shafts are also equal length front and rear, I noticed.
Yep.
So same parts on both ends. AR45, not, I couldn't remember off the top of my head. Are the AR45s, do they use a separate C-hub, or was it molded in?
It was separate C-hub.
Okay. I couldn't remember, and I didn't look it up when I was filming, so I didn't even mention it.
Yeah. So yeah, right. The same. Was it the same knuckle or the carry now? Because I've been messing around with the portal setup too. I know people want portal setup, so we've been kind of messing around with that as well. So we're trying to carry over a lot of the parts from vehicles to use them. So that'll be coming down the pipe as well, just not anytime soon.
Yeah, that makes sense with that part of it.
You'll see a lot of homebrew on that front.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sure. The tube here, so there's a set screw in the front of the pumpkin and one in the bottom, and you can feel when they engage. But you just take out those two screws, as long as you don't have that servo mount on top, of course, that would tie it together to the upper link.
Rich, do you think that you'll see a lot of this stuff carry over into the scale line of things too, or do you think that like the transmission and such, do you think that there's a potential there to make this part of like a new SCX10
Absolutely.
3 or 4. Yeah.
Absolutely. We learned a lot. You know, when we first did the 3, you know, it was a whole new transition with the guys from Axial joining the guys from Horizon, and we all have our different ways and we have different things that we were trying to achieve. So it was trying to meld all that stuff together. There was some stuff that we missed, and like the transmission, it can go both ways. You know, the Axial guys designed it. I didn't pay attention to what the gear ratio difference was as much, counting on them. Yeah, that piece, that's the piece that you'll slide off, as Josh will probably tell you, that you can go to the 4-link and put the servo on the axle.
Right. So there is a new one of these include. Well, no, you leave this on because that's your upper. Or do you have a new one without the panhard mount?
Right.
Oh, okay. I figured you just kept that in place and added the upper 4-link on the other side. You have a whole nother piece like that.
Another whole piece that comes with it, plus the whole upper link and all that stuff. I wonder if I have mine.
Excellent. That's nice. That'll help clean that up.
That's cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Now, I'm sorry I'm not paying as much attention to the chat. I know. Thanks for Matt and Rich to keep talking while I take stuff apart.
Yeah.
But
I'll answer. Let me answer a couple of your chat there. Why was the Capra discontinued? The standard axle, the non-rear steer, was discontinued because, quite frankly, nobody's buying them compared to the rear steer one. Everybody wants the rear steer one now. I know that there's different, and we've talked about this all the time. There's always different guys like, oh, you guys got to make a Dodge, and you guys got to do this and that. But you know, there are certain things that sell and things that don't. Like once the Capra rear steer came out, it really put a dent in the standard axle rear one. So
once you have the rear steer one, there's no point in going back. I'm fully in that camp.
Right. And then 6x6, I'm sorry, you guys. Nobody bought them. Nobody wants them.
That's why I can't get another body for mine, because nobody bought. And now I have Crocmobile back here with, but the so this is, oh, people were asking about delivery date on this. Now on the photo that got passed around, I think it said February or something, right?
Yeah, it's the 23rd.
23rd is delivery.
Yep.
So
they're going out on the. I believe they're going out on the 23rd. That should be, I think, a Thursday, or what day is it? I don't know. I can't use my phone because I got it up here now, but
right.
It's scheduled for the 23rd. I know that they're all going to be into our warehouses really soon. We already have partial shipment there, but we got to wait for everything to be in there before we'll start shipping. So we're getting really close.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah. No, that's good deal. That's probably, it's one of your guys's faster release to shipping dates.
Yeah, we usually
like within the same month.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
We usually try to time it that way, where we have them like usually we try to make sure that they're on the water before we start kicking in the plans of the announcement date, with the hopes of actually having it within 2 weeks to 3 weeks of the announcement date. That's usually how it works. So yeah.
Let's see. Is there anything super special about this pumpkin? I mean, at this point, I'm just taking it apart so I can just put it into a box for you. It's gonna make shipping costs so much easier.
Just throw it in a big bag, right?
You know, I had a theory.
Rich, it's all gonna fit in a tube. Yeah. He's always just gonna ship it in one tube.
I had a theory. I was just like, Rich had called me, you know, when we were planning on the video release stuff, and he's like, yeah, this and that. He goes, I don't have a body that we're going to be using for this, but I do have one that I had painted. And I was just like, Rich has a bet at the office or something, like that can't make him use that body. I was just like, all right, I'm going to do this. So I had the flame paint job. That I will say, whoever your painter is, also a very talented painter.
Oh yeah, it's Bradley Fine Line Designs. And the funny part was, like I was telling you, is I don't know why I told him to invert the paint scheme. And what I meant was just get rid of the gray and change it to white like he's done some of my other ones. And then I got that body, and I'm like, oh, what is this? And I look at my text, like, oh, he did tell me to invert. He did exactly what I asked him.
Yep, that's the reverse.
Yeah, it's definitely reverse. So people like it. I'm not a big fan of it, but it's just pretty funny. That's what happened. So I was like, I can use that one.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was nice and fresh. I'll give you that for sure. So, I think a lot of people will like that body. You know, a lot of people don't have a care about Sorka, whatnot. Now, also, if someone wanted to use that body and run Sorka, they could just make a slightly fatter slider to get that body to come up. You could do that and make that body legal if that was something you were really after. And I imagine some people will.
Yeah. That's what we were running. I think we were playing with the Silverado body for Stampede. I think is what we were running. I can't remember what it was from Pro-Am. That's what we're using for the testing. When we're out there. I think that's what White was always using as well.
Was which one?
I think it was like a Stampede.
Silverado.
Like a Silverado.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Like a real narrow one. So.
The center pumpkin on this. These are the mounts for the servo mount. One there. One here. One there, and then the other on the other mount, like this one, right, Rich? The other.
Yeah, it looks like that, missing the panhard mount. It looks almost exactly as the one in the rear.
Right, and so, but that's your little pumpkin on that. It's got that same keyed D window design on the third member, or center section.
Yep.
I took the 4 screws out of the back, typical. So
yeah, the diff covers are SCX10 3, the AR45s. So the same diff covers from those things.
They were, and I did assume, but they're the 830 gear set on the ring and pinion.
Yeah, same thing as the 3.
Okay, so yep. I know you guys have the 27.8 as well, but I assume that they were the same. So pretty standard operating inside there, but it is a nice looking little center section to it.
I like.
Oh, do I put the screws back in?
No.
Ooh, I could take the drive shafts apart too. You guys want to see the little pieces
You know what I would
in
do,
the drive
Josh?
shaft?
Who was that?
Randomly not include all the hardware.
No, include
just put some of it back
extra hardware, different
in.
bunch of standard.
Dude, that would be damn funny. But you better not put it back in a box.
See, Rich, this is what you get for sending it to Josh.
I know. I felt bad. I was trying to figure out a way to get one to you, Matt, but I was like, oh man, I just don't have it sitting around.
What would I do with it? Drive it around my driveway?
Well, it's open. You know,
I don't have a car. That's
there's space.
Whatever happened to that? I touched base. Did they ever find it?
No.
Oh my god.
It's gone.
Dude,
It's probably in Africa now. It's been sold to some other guy.
wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's okay.
I tell you what, the assembly of everything on this went pretty smoothly. Those little grub screws can be a little finicky just to get initially started in that center section. I could see possibly people having just a little bit of struggle with that. Hopefully no strip screws, but
yeah, and also they should probably take a note. You don't need to crank that thing all the way down through
No.
the tube. You need to get it about flush with the end of the plastic, because obviously you're going to start hitting the drive shafts if you go too deep on those things.
Yep. So
You know, it's so crazy that we're talking about this now, because we finished this, and you know how it is, Josh. We finished this so long ago that it's like I'm doing, you know, the things for 24 and 25 and other stuff right now. And it's like, man, I got to remember everything that we did and went through on this project to get to where we're at, because
it's, you know, the internet is always so quick to make the, like, oh, I bet that they just took and started up on this one, like, a year and a half ago.
RTR, so they decided to come out with a kit.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah, they just went in the back, turned the computer on. So,
hello, factory. Go ahead and start. We're gonna need them tomorrow.
We'll get a plane ticket. So,
all right, Gentlemen, I'm going to leave you because I already did a live stream before this one. But Rich, thanks so much for jumping on and showing off the new truck. I'm really excited to see it in person.
Yeah, it was good. It was good seeing you too, and look forward to coming back on when we're on a regular Wednesday. We
Right.
can have some.
That sounds like a great idea. Josh, go to hell.
Bye, Matt.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Love you.
So the I don't know how many of these you've built already, Rich, but I've obviously disassembled and reassembled one a couple of times now.
Yes.
And they are it's a quick build, it feels like.
Yeah, it's really not too bad. I mean, it's got the typical things when it comes to the rod ends or the longest part, putting the shock ends on it, doing the little knick-knack things. But for the most part, yeah, it goes together pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And,
the it's been, as far I disassembled the whole transmission, getting the dog bone aligned with the posts is a little bit of a chore. Not terrible, of course. But drops on there. The new shocks, I disassembled them. The one thing I noticed on the shocks is that the length of the shock shaft in comparison to the travel length, and I didn't give those numbers. It's kind of an odd combination.
Yeah. Let's have Wyatt answer this. He would definitely tell you what's up with that.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine he was just looking for a certain amount of length, but only so much traveled. Eye to eye length on the new shocks is 95 millimeters. Total compressed length is 74 millimeters.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Roughly. So 95, 74. But so that's a pretty short amount of stroke for the total length. Just kind of an interesting deal, a little bit different than a lot of the shocks. The new hard anodized bodies look good, feel nice.
Yeah, I said, I'm gonna let Wyatt answer that because again, came to a lot of the technical part of this stuff. He was the man on that stuff. When it comes to running through the projects and things like that, we probably should have had Wyatt on anyways because he's really good at that stuff. And remembers it all because, dude, I'm 53 now, and this project has been in the works for like 2 years, so it's like I don't remember.
Yeah, yeah. I bet you'd answer some Hot Wheels questions if I had them. So,
yeah.
Let's see. How challenging would it be to narrow those axles down? I'd like to get and fit under my scale body. Aardvark explain. I mean, you could technically narrow them without much work. However, you would start running into clearance issues with links and things like that when you start turning. That would be the difficult portion of it. Widening them would be the simplest thing to do because you're just adding material. Then you just need a longer shaft as well. But yeah, narrowing is always more difficult because you start running into link clearance issues with steering as well as the shock body coming into place.
Right.
But that's something to note there. I won't leave this completely disassembled for you. It's fine.
I wanted to ask there's a question about an SCX Capra. Yeah, I'd like to make that happen, but I don't know.
Yeah, sometime it would be a fun vehicle. I totally agree with everyone. We've obviously heard that one as soon as every new teaser photo goes up.
Oh yeah.
We mentioned in the review, at least we haven't talked about it here, 3.8 degrees for the belly angle. Not a super aggressive number. A lot of the chassis we've seen go 7, 8, 13, these crazy numbers.
Right.
It's
I know.
nice.
A lot of that stuff again was really the choice of Wyatt and the run that he did with his previous vehicle, which was very similar to that. So when it came to that stuff, it just came down to what worked with Wyatt's rig. I got a chance to drive Wyatt's rig and a few of the other guys, and I was like, dude, this thing is freaking awesome. So there are some reasons that I wish I could tell you exactly why he did that, but we drive it and it's just pretty amazing what it does and with the travel. I mean, it's funny. again, it depends on who's watching this. If we have our hardcore comp guys, those guys know you don't need a lot of travel. If you have
Right.
new to your channel that are starting to get into this, they think they got to have, the full articulation and all that crazy stuff. And it's like, oh, it
Yep.
doesn't have enough shocks or
You
whatever.
come from the 24 scale world or something like that. It's going to be a very different feeling.
Yes. Yeah.
Why did you use a dog bone shaft instead of a regular one? I mean, dog bone shaft is only here. The other ones are all universal, but for the amount of movement there, everything else like that, and it's also probably twice as beefy as it would need to be. It doesn't have much operating angle that's needed. I would also say that it gives you a little bit of flexibility in there. You could use a wild bore, but by the time you got 2 wild bore shafts, then 2 machined ends in there, you would end up with nothing in the middle based on the length of the center transmission. So the dog bone is a reasonable and never going to fail you. Same thing as on like an 8 scale buggy, right?
Right. I don't think not only is it not going to fail you, it's so short. There's such a on it. There's no binding in it. There's nothing really to worry about. That we just that's the style we wanted to go with, so we went with that.
And the things like links, there. I did see that comment where it matches the angle of links. It kind of does. Kind of, well, not really. I mean, like maybe it doesn't CAD, but or in certain ride heights or whatever. It's all going to depend on your setup. And then every terrain, every person's going to have their own preference. It's got an angled skid, so you get a little benefit there. And some people will think it's perfect. Some people will need more or less. Being that it does have an angled skid, you can't use it in class 1, but that's is what it is. You make those sacrifices as you go.
Yeah, exactly.
I did talk to
man.
We got the selectable overdrive, and I did hear that I saw the Spectrum servo in there, like the SX10 or whatever, but I also saw the Reefs 99 drops right in there. And Did Brock post that? Yeah.
Yeah, we included a servo horn for the Reef servo, so that's a direct drop on as well.
Right. Yep. So let's see.
Give me 1 second, Josh.
Sure.
It sucks battery big time. I'm at 20%.
Go for it.
Let me go find my charger real quick. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second.
Yep.
Sorry.
I'm gonna go through super chats that I missed and apologize for that. So going back, and where are we at? Indy Bama, thank you. I missed yours. Oh, we did answer when it will be available though. When will the shock parts for this be available to the public? Because I can use those axles. Oh, I think that he said that all those parts are coming fairly soon. I answered a couple of those. Scumbag RC. Oh, the RC Underdog. Thank you. It's sorry, it's not pro related. Oh, why did the RTR Capra? Rich answered that. Scumbag RC is gonna have Wyatt on live tonight. There you go. You guys can go join them. Thanks, Scumbag. Is there limitations to motor size? Rich said that the Firma stuff fits, and honestly, that's about as big as you're gonna really have to worry about. So I think if you can fit a Firma in there, you're not gonna have many limitations reasonably on motor size. Chris Barr, stock this month. Yep. How challenging would it be to narrow? We answered that one. Opie's view. Thank you. Hazard. Will there be a offset rear? Also ordered 2 to do short side on the front to make a 1/10 scale versus these 1/9. I'll try and make it. Yeah, that's going to be tough on the front. I'll tell you that. And thanks to Backsplax and Indy Bam again. When are we going to see an SCX6 Capra? They're never going to let that one go, Rich. Not until we see it.
I know.
But the SCX6s are so much fun. I get it.
Yeah, it is on my list of things that I'd like to get done. It's just obviously the tooling involved and the cost and all that stuff. And we've had a lot of good success with the 6, that's for sure. Yeah. So I don't think I'll get too much pushback. It's just a matter of the bandwidth of getting things signed. We're working. Right. We got engineers working on multiple brands, and yeah, we got
2 to 3 years then is what you get for an answer.
That's probably really realistic. About 2 to 3 years.
With that type of thing, that's a possibility. Yeah. Let's see. What else do we have that are big picture things to talk about? They were talking about that offset rear. I can't imagine that would be a high priority for you.
No,
but for someone who wanted to, you could probably manage something fairly reasonable. You could almost use a front pumpkin in the back and slide it to one side, and then use the third link for the other side to get your link mount. You'd have to have some custom tubes or whatever, but being how easy tubes are to make, I imagine you'll see all kinds of configurations from aftermarket companies without
Yeah. I figured that, so that's why
Yeah.
we also jumped on having our own brass axle tubes and that type of stuff, because we know everybody's gonna be doing all kinds of stuff. So let's get this stuff.
Yep.
And unfortunately, we're probably looking about 6 weeks before the option parts will start to hit the stores. But there's a pretty limited amount, so if anybody's gonna get them, they need to order their stuff right away when they go live. Like tomorrow is when they go live. I would probably do it for.
Yep.
We had quite a bit more success than we expected.
Um,
Confident about it. Like I felt confident that building something like this, especially for someone like me who wants to get into it and not deal with trying to figure out what they have to do, would be there. But it's been pretty successful, so we're really.
That's good. I forgot to do an overall weight in the video. I'm going to take off my rear wheels, and I'm just going to pile everything on the truck to try and get you a weight.
I thought I had put that in it should be the specs on the website too.
Oh,
That
okay,
was-
go for it.
That was weighted with that. Let me see here. See if I can pull that up.
Oh, so yeah, Rich, are you going to make it to the Rocky Mountain Regional Championship with us, the TGH event? Huh?
You know,
Huh?
I know I just signed up, and I am gonna see if I can make it out. There's so much stuff going on, and that's like the same month as Axial Fest, I think, because it's in June, right?
True. Yes, it is the same month as Axial Fest Badlands.
Badlands, Horizon Fest, and then Axial Fest after that. So it kind of gets kind of tough sometimes. I'd like to though. Dude, I mean, like I said, White's. He could. I could go. We could share a room, and he can deal with my snoring. I'm the old dude now. I got a little seniority there, so he'll have to deal with me.
Exactly. Deal with it and shut up about it. I think that I've got all the parts here that you gave me. What do you show on your side?
We're going 3 pounds without components and wheels.
Okay, I'm at 4 pounds 2 ounces. But let's make sure that I've got it tared without. That's probably the issue. Let's double check. No, that's at 0. It's pre-production. You can't trust anything I'm saying.
I didn't check my numbers then. I don't know why it's saying 3 pounds in there.
I don't either. I'm just double checking this.
3 pounds without components. I filled this in too. I remember weighing it. Maybe it's just the scale I used. It's one of our shipping scales. So
No, you could be right. Yeah. 3 pounds 4 ounces.
okay, that
So
sounds
yeah, no, you're good.
all right.
So I don't know why it was off the first time, and I just threw everything on top of here, so both of us can't be trusted. There were set screws missing. The steering on this looks great, and obviously it's got built-in bump stops, so you grind off those bump stops, push those universal joints a little harder.
Yep.
Immediately, your warranty is voided. It turns red as soon as you do that. But I imagine you can get some solid high 40 degrees steering angle area.
Yeah.
How come you can't drive the pre-production? I don't know. Plastic different. Who knows what it is? I don't really care. I get that was the case, and if there is a
Yeah, I'm sorry. You know what I was going to say is the bottom line is that there's sometimes when I'm trying to get these vehicles together, I'm using parts from some of our initial T1s, T2s. So the last thing I want to do is have you go out and run this thing, assuming it's a production version. And then like I mentioned when Brock was doing the testing with that one gear that broke, you know, when I'm putting this thing together, if some of the parts are still from those originals, something could happen. So I didn't want to risk that because of the way social media works, because of all that stuff. It's like, oh, dude, they break. It's blah, blah, blah. And then no one reads really what happened and why. So it's just like a gear thing. I saw people already posting that they read or saw that they broke the gear and the gear breaks. And it's like, no, it broke once. We fixed it. And that was like 9 months ago. And we haven't broken one.
So, and yeah, who knows if everything is good to go or not. And yeah, I know Greg drove his, but I assume Greg had a final sample or whatever that was a single time build or along those lines.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That was a production sample vehicle that Matt Higgins, the brand champion for Axial now, he built and then sent over to Greg. We just didn't have enough of the vehicles at the time to get to everybody, so that's why we're sending these samples out or whatever we had.
yeah,
Plus, as much as we bust each other's balls and I like getting your feedback when you do things. So I'd rather have you build an actual kit, and I can hear your crap, and then I'll
right.
about it.
No, it's occupying a different space in the market, I think. Oh, I did also want to show the lower link mounting thing. That's a little bit different than people haven't seen, but it's I know you guys have talked about that. Some people, you could trail it, and you absolutely could, but I think leaning hard into the fact that it is made for this performance-minded area, and I think you can just lean into that, and it is that reason because the price is up there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got machine tubes front and rear. It's got nice shocks. There's a lot to that transmission, I'll give you that. But the price is up there. So when you're comparing it to other things, then it's like, okay, but if you're comparing it to what it's going to do really well at,
yeah,
you're not going to be able to build one much cheaper.
I would challenge, and I saw people talking about that, but I think you can challenge anybody to say, hey, build a comp rig from all these other vendors and everywhere that you need and put it together. And what's your time worth also? That's where this comes into play. And so I think it's a priced vehicle based on that type of a plan, so.
Yeah. So the what I was talking about with the lower links. So you've got the screws on the outside. Those are just to attach the skid plate to the frame rails. The actual links are done through these larger holes next to it, and it's a set pin style design. It's a long-winded one, but it's like a drive shaft screw, except it's a M4 thread with a 3mm shaft through it. So that's how you get those links out. But you can remove all 4 links, and the skid plate's still attached to the chassis. But it is a little bit interesting with the slider and the link position holes, at least in the configuration where it came to me, specifically for is it the front? It's the rear. So the front upper link hole is right there. There is some adjustability there. The rear one is actually covered up from access, so you actually have to take off that outside of that slider to be able to get to it. You can see it there, but it's covered up on this side, so you actually have to dig into it to be able to get that out.
Right.
But there is a bunch of adjustability. We got what, 6
holes,
8 holes, 8 holes, I think total. Oh wait, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 holes, okay. Something like that. So you got a bunch of upper link adjustment back there. Yeah, got that. We have disassembled it, and it's in its state now. Oh, I guess we were talking about the shock length stuff, and I don't remember if Wyatt said something.
I don't know if you commented in there. I'm trying to catch up on this stuff.
Yeah, I haven't been able to follow that totally with trying to show things here. The springs are compatible with mini T rears, which is super common to use. The shock itself kind of limits itself with this see that nub on the lower shock collar. I imagine if you wanted a little bit more travel, you could trim that down maybe, but I don't know how much before that internal piston hits I guess we could check that.
Yeah, there's still space to get up into the top, but yeah, you can get it up if you need to.
Yeah, you start running into clearance issues and things like that, I'm sure.
Yeah, we kind of try to dial this thing in because, like I said, we had about a year of running on this thing, and so messing with the bump stops, messing with all the type of setup. The whole idea was, again, guys like you and some of the other guys are going to really fine tune this thing to what they want, while we were trying to really create something that out of the box was going to be a very good experience and people were going to be able to run it really well. So I think that's what the big thing for us. There are stuff where you, like I said, you give and take, but we want that it was good out of the box. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on, oh, I could do this and I could find that and I can do this. Of course, we all can. We all can find cheaper prices and parts and stuff like that. But what I'm talking about is bringing the general guy who's been intimidated by all the pro vehicles that maybe they don't build like you guys do and want to get involved in this. And that's why I feel that your time, your price, and it does cost a lot too. Josh knows it's not cheap. Everybody takes different margins. Some of the vendors take different margins themselves. Things aren't as cheap as everybody thinks they should be. Could you say, yeah, make that for $100? They do it in China. Okay, we'll go buy a Chinese car,
Right.
or the cheap copies or whatever it is. But I think that the idea here for the price and for what you get was that it's about getting these customers in to this and having a good experience and having something that works really well for them right out of the box. And all the other guys, you guys can do your crazy cutting, trimming, chopping, changing geometries, doing all that type of stuff. I've got to look out for those other people and then try to have something good for you guys to be able to modify and play with. So I'll get off my little stand here.
I'm ready for it. I was just taking apart I didn't take apart the shock cap during the video. So it's got the hard anodized shock ring around the top portion there. And then we kind of have like the base camp style insert that goes in there as well. So just a plastic top insert.
Yeah.
And then it's got a single O-ring that seals up that setup. Right? That's accurate all around.
Yeah, and actually we really worked hard on the sealing of those things because the threes tend to leak a bit. So we improved the shocks on this one, so they hold oil pretty well. We've had a lot of good success with that.
So yeah, I guess I don't think I ever disassembled my base camp shocks. So I don't know. Is this the same design as the top of the base camp?
Yeah, so it's the same design, and then the shock cartridge has a little bit of more spacing for the O-rings. So that's where a little bit.
Okay, so it's similar to the base camp. It's just modified from there, and obviously hard anodized bodies and a different lower cartridge that retains that mini T-spring.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's that lower piece there, that molded piece for you guys. That is the lower cartridge screw-on portion. It just has that oversized part that holds the spring. And are you guys going to come out with other spring rates for the?
We have other spring rates coming. Everybody, you can run the mini T1s now, but we have other spring rates coming. We also have a slightly longer wheelbase that'll take it out to what was it, 320? I think is what it is. Maybe that's 12.5, right? Maybe that's where I was screwed up on sizing.
313 is 7 millimeters longer. It's about somewhere in there.
What is that? So, but whatever the case is, we're going to have that kit as well. I'm working on the Axial sets. We're working on trying to
12.6
version 2 portals. There's a lot of little knick-knack things that we're working on that we're trying to get going. It's just, again, bandwidth, catching up. And then quite frankly, oh crap, I forgot to put those springs into the system and get them ordered. Things like that happen as well.
Yeah. I was happy to see no cross-drilled holes through the links. That was a bonus.
Oh, that was number one.
Get rid of that. Yeah, I think I covered as much as I could in the video without going ridiculous. We had a 62 32 pitch spur gear up top with a super. When I took apart that front motor mount setup, I felt that slipper lockout piece. I was like, wow, it's super light. I think it's cast aluminum.
Yeah, actually I think it's powder metal. I don't even think it's no, it is aluminum. That's right.
I was gonna say it felt lighter than powder metal. So I don't see you guys do a lot of cast aluminum. So I mean, nice for lightweight. I was like, oh, I didn't expect that. And then the washer on the front of the spur gear there, that piece, that's also aluminum. So again, lightweight.
Yeah.
Now that is a fully new spur gear that doesn't have cross compatibility, right?
Yeah, that's a brand new spur gear. Yeah, it keys in with 3 little pins, so it's totally new.
Yeah, for those that are looking at adjusting or thinking about portals, things like that, be aware of that. You're going to need different spur gears, and they're not, well, unless it's got a standard radius that would work with something else, but I don't know. They look like a pretty large pin, so.
Hey, I know there's another one I forgot to tell you guys about. And it's going to seem weird to you guys, but I think you guys are going to understand it. When you switch to the axle mounted servo, the screw that holds the lower shock and the link has to be shorter. So it's a 22 millimeter screw bottom right front. The rest are 25 millimeter screws. So when you guys build it, you guys are going to be like, why is there this weird screw like that? It's just because the screw will go through and hit the servo if it's any longer than 22 millimeters.
So I didn't comment on that in the video because I didn't know if it was a pre-production thing or not. I wasn't sure, but I did notice that a lot of the hardware was long. Like it sticks proud of the backside of the mounts kind of throughout. Now, is that going to be a production situation?
Yeah, it will be. And you know what it is too, is that sometimes people say that I wish I had a little bit more to put even though it doesn't need it, they like to have that lock nut. So it's kind of one of those things, you know what, we'll add the extra on there. If someone wants to space their shock out, they can still use that screw if they go 2 millimeter spacing, because people like to angle them out sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's just all that weird stuff. The funny one though, like I said, it's kind of funky. It's just that 22 millimeter screw that it's different size from everything else. So
right, yeah, like I was pointing out, that one that for you, what he's referring to, the link goes in this pocket, and when you put that screw through, like I was showing, they stick out a little bit long, but servos are going to be tight there. And I can imagine I wonder, at least, servos kind of vary so much. I just wonder if you're going to have some that fit better than others and don't fit at all. And I don't know how wide of a range you tested there, but
we tested reef servos and spectrum servos. So those were the two main ones that we used. And like I said, it just came down to, we wanted to make sure you didn't start screwing into the case. And servo.
Yeah.
So it's a little weird.
So, let's see. Kind of covers, I mean, a lot of this stuff is, we said, it's not a new idea. It's just a new execution by you guys. So there's a lot of this stuff is just super clear as to the point, and to the aftermarket possibilities of a lot of this stuff are going to be super obvious. And there's not going to be a whole lot of guessing. You guys are going to know exactly what, or the users are going to know exactly what they want or don't want, what they're going to change.
A lot of the stuff that again, and you've seen it too, and it's part of why Vanquish is where Vanquish is because it was customizable on a lot of those cars, and we kind of got away from some of that stuff. So this thing having the modular pieces, the axle, the chassis rails, I mean, it really allows people to customize it, which I think is a big part, obviously we know is a big part of this category. And so it'd be nice to have this be the basis for a lot of people. And that was our goal with the Pro, was that you could take and use this type of stuff, and the axles and the shocks if you wanted, or you can make your own frame rails if you want. The transmission will work with those because of the flat rails and other miscellaneous things like that. So that was the idea behind it, of getting back into where people can really start customizing them. But then, like I've already told you multiple times, someone can get it easily and go out and comp with it. Like even myself, I was pulling lines when we were shooting the video. Oh my God, I forgot how good this thing is. Really, I counted on Brock to do all our testing. And
and I mentioned in there, even though I didn't drive it, most people who've built one or have one similar, you can feel it when you have it in front of you, and you can kind of feel where the center of gravity of things are, things like that. You can have a pretty good idea, like, yeah, this is going to be about like what I expect, and I fully expect that to be the case here. I fully expect it to drive very, every car has its own personality in a way, but for this, I expect it to drive.
I had a phone call coming in. I was trying to hang up on it.
Oh, we said a bunch of really terrible stuff. So let's see. I'm looking forward to building it with the full kit. I didn't download the manual. I saw that it is available. I didn't download and actually go through that yet. But
before you call it out, all right, the M3 by 22 millimeter button head screw has the wrong part number.
So
I
it's
put it
not a low C?
not right. So before you go and say, you know, the build was really good, except that someone part.
Someone's going to order all the hardware, or you're going to have those screw kit guys who are already working away diligently, and all their screw kits are going to be wrong now.
No, so the measurement is correct. The part number's wrong.
Oh, okay. You know what? You're probably saved.
I saw that. Dude, you know what's funny is I saw it and I was like, oh man, Josh should be the first one to call this out.
And it's only because I busted your ass so hard on the first Capra one.
Yep.
Which
it was deservedly so.
Yeah. Beyond that, I do enjoy a good manual, but it's I haven't had too many issues. Well, man, what was the last kit you guys did? What was the last new kit you did?
Let's see, it would be the 3.
But
I think Capra came first, and then the 3 came after that, right? Yeah.
Was it that? Yes.
And then we updated the builder's kit 2. But that's all been kind of transition stuff when it was like we're going from the Axial method to the kind of the way that we do stuff in-house with the TLR and the low C stuff. So that's been kind of the transition with some of that stuff. I know people get upset about hearing that type of stuff, that those changes were made, but it's just the way the system works.
Right.
But yeah, this would be the latest kit. Yeah, it would be the 3 was the last one. It's been a while.
It's been a real while.
Yeah.
So I know people did ask, are you guys? Do you have an official response formulated for when people ask for the RTR version?
That's not gonna. The funny part is, I'm actually all the time I've ever come on, I'm like, dude, kit's done. Yeah. We're not doing. Meanwhile, I was working on a kit, and now you guys are asking about RTR. I was like, no RTR. Pretty confident in RTR right now, but I mean, if it takes off as well as it does, who knows? Maybe we would. But I just don't know if people are going to spend that kind of money on an RTR non-licensed rig that would have to be with that. Because I mean, you'd have to. I don't even want to think about that path right now. It'd be a lot of work to make that happen.
I just have to ask these things.
Yeah.
It's a solid little option. Oh, are the bumper spacing? Is that standard bumper spacing for other post style bumpers?
Yes, they fit our 3s.
So like 39 millimeters or something is standard? No.
I can't remember the number. It's the same as our 3s. In fact, I know that
43 millimeter.
Yeah, our Curry is on one of his vehicles. So
okay, cool. Well, and vice versa. These bumpers are super low profile. I can imagine people wanting to use these on other builds to have that nice slender thing. So those becoming option parts will, I'm sure be an easy option part for you guys.
Yeah, there's multiple mounting positions for the servo. The if you want to put a wedge servo on there up front. So if you run the Axial mounted steering, you can put 2 servos in there if you wanted to. And I think you can run a shorty servo in there as well, or a standard type servo.
I think servo. This is currently set up to be like shorty servo compatible. Do I have one handy? What is this one? This is a 800 IS. An 800 IS would drop right in there, if I took the screws out of the posts and all that. So still 3-4 millimeters on the back side. And and I guess depending on the orientation that you plan to put it, you could flip those things around, line it up so that your spool, if you have an internal spool style winch, it would lead more directly to the fair lead. So that'll be a simple option for people to flip one way or the other.
I think most people are going to build it with the servo on the axle anyways, so they'll be able to flip that winch servo any way they want on the top. And it with all the linkage and the hardware and everything you need to do the servo on the axle. So I saw some people asking, why do they always do pan hard bars? No, we got both of them in there. Give me a break.
Yeah, you've got the cast mount for the pan hard. Yep. So cast mount there. It is an odd part. It's got one screw from the outside, and then the other is from the inside over here. And it is kind of a pain to get at that one as well. So you either have to have a ball end or the world's longest driver to get to it. But I see that you've got the servo tucked in tight over there. So
Yeah.
trying to put a molded brace or a lock nut back there would get tight. So I totally understand why it ended up like that. It's just a small small oddity compared to what you may be used to.
And like I said too, and when you're building it, when half the frame rail, you build that, you drop it on there. But then most people are not going to run that anyways. They're going to be running the chassis mounted, so that shouldn't be a factor
Axle
for them.
mounted.
Yeah, axle mounted.
Yeah.
Axle mounted.
We knew what you meant. I'm sure that, you know, a lot of people definitely gonna I could see it going both ways. I could see it being, you know, closer to that 50-50, but having both options in there is nice.
It'll be interesting because I mean it's funny. Everybody that I've had ask me about it was asking about the axle mounted, so like, it'll be interesting to see how that goes and watch what happens when this thing gets out there in more hands. So
yeah, absolutely.
Everybody wants a Dodge truck, so
yeah. Both those guys who want that 95 Ram Gen 1.
Dude, it still cracks up when I see people like, when they had the Dodge Ram, they sold so many of them. I don't understand why they stopped making them. Because nobody bought them.
Yeah.
It's that simple. If it's not available anymore, it's because nobody was buying them anymore.
I'm going back through some of the super chats that I missed, and I apologize to all you guys who said that. The OD on the axle tube, Wyatt may have answered that in the comments, but I get 11.8, 11.65, somewhere. 11.50 right on that side. I imagine 11.50 is the right number.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I mean, yeah. So 11.6 to 11.5, kind of down that line.
Craig, phone number, so every time I get someone asking about a Dodge Ram body, I'll have them send them your way.
So Tony Thompson asked, 10-2 builder's kit on the chopping block with this. I mean, I feel like these are very different trucks.
Right.
And a massive cost difference.
Yes.
So, you know, you're looking at difference between a lot of machined tubes and higher end shocks and all that, much more complicated transmission.
The 10-2 tends to be more like, you know, people, as much crap as we get for the SCX24s, it's bringing in a ton of people into crawling into the larger scales. I mean, in fact, when we have one of the Axial pages on Facebook, one of the questions is to kind of keep out the riffraff is, what is the vehicle you've had first or whatever it was? 95% of the new people joining are started with an SCX24. So
do you let them in still, or do you?
So you have those SCX24s, then they want to graduate to something else, go with the 10. It's a great option to start with, low cost. You can custom build it. You can put whatever bodies you want on it, and still there's so many option parts for it. So it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Right. Are the axles equal width hex to hex? I guess I can look real quick. We're at 189 millimeters hex face to hex face. Of course, the front is a little bit harder to, but yeah, they're the same. So 189 millimeters is face to face on the hexes. I don't know what pin to pin is, but you know, you can get in there. TRD Adventures, thanks Tim. Love my LCG builds. Excited to get this one, get going on it. Price point is great in my opinion, and definitely opens up the door more in the hobby. I agree there. You know, I think that I personally my favorite RC days, oftentimes looking back, are the comp crawling days. You know, back regular USRCCA days. I absolutely loved that type of competition. Sorka competition I like for similar reasons. Not, you know, and I like Sorka and the challenges and things that it allows me to do, because comp crawling got away from a lot of the customized or you weren't able to express the same amount of character with the comp crawling stuff as you are with the scale stuff. So for that reason, I do actually probably prefer the scale stuff now. But
right.
Ship date was mentioned, Eric. Thank you, sir. It's February 24th? 3rd.
23rd.
23rd.
Yep.
TGH. Thank you, sir. TGH excited for Axial. Want to throw a huge shout out to Wyatt for such a solid job. Yes, congratulations all around. And Chris Barr also want to congratulate Axial for reinvigorating the 1.9 mini class with the UTB 18. That, you know what, I've seen a decent amount of that little. Talking to a friend out east as well. They're getting out and just driving the crap out of those.
You know, it's fun to watch. I mean, obviously, I'm never going to go out there and post anything on social media because I'll just get beaten to crap. But it's so funny when I saw the stuff about the UTB 18 and everybody complaining and ranting and raving. We're selling. They sell like crazy. People are really having a good time with it. And then the same thing comes to the AX24. Oh, it's a toy, blah, blah, blah. You know what? People are having a really good time with it, and
Yep.
I get it. So
I was more surprised at the AX24 response than the UTB. But
I was too, man. I sent you messages like, dude, I don't know why I got so pissed, but
it's a bloodbath out there.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's those hashtags. That was a big problem. People were seeing hashtags and thinking they were getting a rock racer or.
Well, because in all fairness, Axial's hashtag game at times has been very direct and to the point. So
I wish I had control over that because trust me, I constantly complain about it.
Like, well, let's see what this new tease is exactly. Like, oh, here in the hashtags it tells me. So.
Oh my god, yeah, it's been fun.
No, this is a solid release. Totally, it's going to be interesting to see what the ripple in the market does to it, as far as new people coming in, enjoying this side of the performance first scale area.
Yeah.
That thought.
I'm not going to die. I'm going to actually get out to a comp because of this thing, because I didn't want to build one the other way. And now I've got one in my pocket I can go run. So it even just in that one sense, it's added one more person to go out comping because I don't have to figure it out. I can put this kit together. I know it's good and I can go run it. So that's what I'm hoping is going to happen.
Yeah. And that's the people that can rattle off the part numbers and their favorite chassis already that they've built around. Yeah, it's not the absolute target. Not saying that a lot of those people aren't going to be the same ones that get it, still buy it, and enjoy it. That's I think it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see what it does, and I love competition. So more people, the better.
Yeah. There's a one of your, what do you call those chat things?
Super chat.
Can Rich comment on the leak? I really hate people doing this and want to know how it's possible. Yeah, you know what? It's frustrating for all of us. I know Josh feels the same way when things get leaked out on their end. This is one of those interesting things where Horizon has their dealer support network, and I truly believe this is where this one came from. Usually the dealers, they have an NDA signed and they have agreed to not share this information, that type of stuff. And what we do is we usually provide them some training, give them a little bit of information, and we do it through a video chat with some of our dealers. The problem is you can screen capture stuff. And to me, based on the images that I saw, I think it was some sort of dealer that actually took a screenshot and then spread it. Sometimes you have, who doesn't want to be the first to expose something? They all want to be the first to say that they got the information, whatever they have it. So unfortunately, that's what I believe happened. I know that we're kind of looking into it to try and figure out where this happened, but it just kind of sucks. I hate it. I wish, quite frankly, if it was me, I wouldn't even post a teaser. I like let's just drop the bomb. That's it.
Yeah, it's such a. I'm with you on that approach. Just be like, it's such a small little bump before that.
Yeah. I'm not a marketing, so
I know exactly what you mean. John, thank you. What size servo is needed for the servo on Axial? Low Pro or standard? I'm thinking my A700 servo is going in it. The photos I saw were all standard size servos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so A700 should drop right in. It's pretty comparable as far as all the dimensions on that A700. Yeah, but congratulations, Rich.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate you getting this thing in, opening up, taking a look at it, and like I said, when you get your actual one to build,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
listen to what you gotta say.
I got my Sharpies handy. Start
Dude,
marking.
I wish I could do a Vanquish review, or dude, oh, it'd be so fun if I could.
I know. Just set your camera up right there, and just
Right.
go live on Instagram.
I know. But I'm not allowed to do that. So, but man,
Yeah.
I'll
know.
tell you what. As soon as I retire, I'm
Oh.
starting a YouTube channel.
Oh.
About what Josh said yesterday, and let's think about
it is. You know, it's such a. It is a small. We're in a very small world. It is what it is. I've been busting Rich's balls since he was releasing a low-C comp crawler in 2010.
Yep. It is what it is, and it's a lot of it's been rightfully so. Some of it's been opinionated that I disagreed with, but you know what? It is what it is, and someday you will get yours, Josh.
It will come around. Well, good stuff. Thanks for coming on Thursday. I know I butted in on Matt's time frame by accident, but thanks to Matt as well for coming in. And I'm going to get this partially reassembled so I can send it back to you.
That's fine. You don't have to fully send it back. I probably deconstructed it anyways once it got back to me. So, you know. And not trying to necessarily promote everybody's shows, but Wyatt is going to be on that other other one.
Scumbag and West Desert Wheeler. They do theirs on Instagram though. So
yeah, he's on Instagram, and those guys you'll get some more technical answers that you guys are looking for. So Josh and I can talk about the production side of things and some of the reasons why we did stuff. But when you want to get on the technical stuff, Wyatt will be it. And someday if you want Wyatt on, Josh, he'd be happy to come on and talk to you about that stuff.
Yeah, Matt and I can bring him on a Wednesday.
Maybe for sure. It'd be good to get the engineering side of it going and let you guys do all your tech talk.
Being younger, he might be able to figure out the Skype stuff a little easier too, things like
that. Newman.
No,
all right,
I appreciate it. Thanks for Wyatt for being in here. If you didn't know, his username was WHY and then like _ET. So if you saw him answering questions, that's who we're referring to. And I didn't catch that until I actually read the name out. I was like, oh, that makes more sense. But yes,
and thank everybody for the questions and the comments and stuff. I really appreciate it. We're excited about this, and I appreciate the time.
Good stuff. Appreciate everybody jumping on, having fun. We showed you some more stuff up close. Things that I remembered after I was editing and all that. But it's the nature of it. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys later.
All right.